side logo. And since that time when we last discussed it, we got some more information about different types of signs from other communities, and like to bring this forward for your consideration of instead of going forward with 4 small signs at the various entry points, maybe doing one on a more of a grander scale, and then building off of that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bill.
Absolutely, thank you. So what I've got here is a portion of the presentation I'd given you guys back in July of 18. At that point, as the mayor was saying, we had introduced the idea of replacing our city entrance sign based on our current branding and also moving them to the perimeters. As you can see on the map I've got up here, if you can make it out, the red signs are the current locations of our entrance signs. The yellow more reflects what the perimeters of the city are, so we're looking at the time of moving those signs out to the perimeter. What I presented to you in July were the idea of approximately a 4x8 sign with the new city logo on it, potentially anchored with 2 pillars on the outside. This Hazel Farms was an example of a concept that we had. This was a drawing that was done by Slewfoot for us. That concept was relatively well received by the city council. There was some comments that were given to me at that time, essentially saying, you know, can we potentially add a reader board to the signs, dress it up. At that time, I didn't have any information on the costs or anything like that. Because of some priorities last year, we weren't able to get these signs up. We're also trying to work on some permanent locations of those signs. So with the winter, I was able to work with a sign company to gather some concepts on an alternative. And I've handed those out to you. I work with a company called Michael Signs, who's done some other reader board type signs with LEDs. What you guys have in front of you right now and you see on the screen is a concept. This is not a final concept or anything like that, but it was simply used based on what our original logo was, the concept of adding an LED sign, dressing it up, and looking at some type of budgetary concept at this point. So at this point, what I have in front of you guys is an approximate sign that's approximately 16 feet wide. The LED portion on this one is about 6.5 feet by, I believe it's 4.5 feet wide or 4.5 feet high. This is a aluminum type sign. What's a little bit different about this sign, technology has changed since we had first done our LED sign out in front. The one that we have out in front here utilizes line of sight. So basically, we use the Wi-Fi from the city from the city hall here to be able to shoot Wi-Fi out to that location. One of my concerns when we first looked at this was whether or not we'd be able to do that. The technology has changed, and basically these signs now generate their own Wi-Fi signal. So the signs can be modified, from what I understand, just through an app. So this was a concept that was generated mainly just for this council meeting tonight. It's not a final design. It could be, obviously, but the main reason I wanted to do at the request here was to bring this concept to you and get your feedback. What I can tell you is last year when we discussed this, the budget that Tim had presented, we could get 4 of the basic signs, which I'm talking here, at all 4 quadrants of the city. If we're going with an LED option here, the recommendation would be to be able to put an LED sign at the north entrance. That's going to be an area that we've got a lot of development occurring this year with the gas station, hotel. We can be able to incorporate into the stormwater feature out there, and then probably on the south side of the city, in the proposed location, maybe putting another basic sign. So basically a non-LED sign on the south side, LED on the north, And that we anticipate would be for about the same budget as what we were working with last year of all 4 signs without LED. So what I would also say is if we go in this direction, this is a project that would have to be bid out. Similar to what we did when we did the LED sign out here in front of City Hall. We worked with, at that time, it was La Crosse Sign. They developed a concept and a spec, and then we bid that out. Then we could invite anyone local to bid it, as well as anyone else who would see the bid advertisement. And then we would go ahead and award it to the lowest bidder. In the case that the company that designed this does not get the bid, then they would charge the city, I believe it's $2,500 fee to do the design. Again, that's the same thing that we did with La Crosse. That's a similar process, what we'd be looking at with Michael's. So again, main thing I wanted to do is get your feedback on this so that we could take advantage of the money that's been set aside for branding in 2019 and move forward with either a concept that's got 2 or 4 entrance signs to the city.
Great with doing it on a more grander scale and taking our time to maybe get the 4 signs. I think, like I said, the north entrance, the development we know is likely to happen there this year, would be a great spot. And I think, you know, instead of buying 4 cheaper signs that may be outdated both in technology and look, you know, very short time, we're going to make something that looks nice. Take our time, maybe run through a couple budget cycles to get 2 to 4 signs total. In which case, we may have more development. Parameters might change a little bit. I mean, things will change, but I'm in favor of using the same money to do things on a little slower pace, but make it a nicer looking entrance to the city.
Thanks, Vince. Toby?
I'd echo the same thing. Let's put all our money into that north interchange for a sign, and we can back our way into the 18 signs and the south 26 sign, but I think we should focus on that north interchange for now and make it as good as we can. And then if whatever we see with that down the road, we can budget for something on the south side or east and west on
Whichever
18.
looks to develop next. Probably.
Yes, but I would throw everything we could into that 26 interchange north.
Thanks. Peg?
I like the look of this one because we have not just the branding, we also have, more than just that. The Geneva Kaiser, the other more well-rounded Jefferson. I think the north side is a good place to start. I would say I would go with 18 because that leads on to the fair. You know, we have a lot of people coming into the fairgrounds. So I would go with Highway 18 as the next one. But
Okay.
north is a good start.
Okay. Thanks. Paul?
So Bill, tell me what happens when we got direct sunlight on this LED portion. Am I going to be able to see it?
So one of the things that the process that I would anticipate this going through is in the case that we have council backing, this is the direction we want to go in. I would contact a representative from Michael's. He would actually bring an LED screen up, whether it's, I'm not sure exactly the size, but he would actually bring up an LED screen so that we could actually see how this looks at certain locations. So, you know, in this case, and being on the north side, scale is an issue, so we want to be able to see, you know, how visible this is as people are coming into the city from the north side. And certainly we would try to take advantage of a sunny day so that it would be visible at that point. But that's certainly a question that we can pose to them to be able to make sure that it is visible at all times.
Well, actually, this one faces north, so this would be the one that would have the least amount of issue from bleach from the sun.
And then, so then to program this, it's some sort of app, you said?
So it's my understanding, I'm not an expert on this yet,
Yet.
But, because I'm sure we'll be by the time we're done. It's my what we have right now is a computer interface. Cindy does the programming here, and then it's programmed out there. The way I am understanding this from my conversations with Michaels is that it can be controlled either through an app or just online. The app was certainly one that he gave me as an example of, and indicated that if you had multiple signs, you could have the same message on each one, different ones on each one, however you wanted to do it. Again, those would be details that I would ask them with. I do not know if it would interface with the current sign that we have, nor do I know if we want to necessarily do that. I talked to some other communities that said that the signs on the perimeters they've used for advertising from businesses so they can actually generate income to offset some of the costs as far as the electrical bills and things like that. So that's my understanding, Paul, but I'll get more information if we proceed in that direction.
Then the back side of the sign that's showing here where it says thank you for visiting, so that would be the other side of the LED screen?
Yes.
Yes.
The one with the bridge isn't an LED, it's just the flip side of the Jefferson, Wisconsin one, right?
That would be correct. And the other thing that's important in knowing is that the location of how this is chosen out there, because it's on a curve, we'll have to take a look and see exactly if we want something on the backside or if that's how that's handled, because it may not, the angles may not work where you can read it going northbound. So again, those are going to be details in the final design that we would look at if we proceed.
That being said, if we go to the north interchange first, what do you suspect the proposed location is? The corner where the auto auction is, across the street where Lou Belkey's property is?
Southeast corner next to the retention pond.
So the
Southeast
The new-
corner.
southeast
If
quadrant,
you're driving into town and our focus is on people coming into town, don't go
On the
outside the road then.
Southwest, I wouldn't.
so here's the thing, and I've looked at,
Because that's the lane of traffic that's gonna be reading it, otherwise you're looking across the lane of traffic to see it over by the retention pond.
Could be.
correct, but what I would say there is that right now we have a pretty good idea of what's going to be developed on the east side of the intersection. If we put anything on the west side, it's always been my concern that anything on the south side of that intersection may end up having some type of pylon sign or something when that develops, and then all of a sudden you have this clustered area. We're anticipating that within the next few weeks, we see actually the end of this week, I'm anticipating, we start to see the plans for the gas station develop. That development is going to have a stormwater feature on the south side, so it is going to have raised berms, so it very well may be that we can work with the developer to be able to put it on the south side so it's elevated in that manner. So that's the reason that we're looking at that at this point.
Around that corner, that might be dead right in front of you when you
Right.
first come around. I'm no engineer, but if you come around that way, that'll stick out.
Right.
Versus turning your head to the right, so it might stick out better on that parcel.
Let's see how the elevations work out.
Yep, exactly.
That's some of the value of putting a mock-up out there and actually bringing a screen out so you can get a feel for the size and the scale. 'Cause that's a big space out there, and you can see it from,
Right in front of you.
yeah, and you can see it from probably at least a quarter mile away from up.
Distract me. I'm driving.
I know. Get off your phone, Paul.
Yeah, let's move forward. You know, 2 signs is fine for now. Let's see how the whole logistics and how it looks and everything.
Ron?
I'm totally against an LED sign. I just don't like the way they look, and I don't think a city needs to have that as their entrance. I think we need to know where it's gonna go on the north side, where it's gonna go on the south side. A long time ago, we had talked about a mock-up on the south side. That didn't happen. I don't think we're anywhere ready to create a sign like this, and if we are, I think we should have some more input from other organizations, maybe the mayor could create a council or a committee to look at it, to help us out a little bit. I don't think that we need to decide this. The other sign is way more informative. It's got churches on it. I'm not saying the churches need to be involved, but I'm just against it till we know some more about it.
Okay?
I like the idea from the beginning to go with something like this, so I'd be, I guess, the opposite. I don't want, and I'm pleased with the screen that's being proposed, because I really don't like the one we have here. Way too much stuff. Nobody ever can read anything. You're lucky to get one item read. So this could be something that, we don't sit and run 40 different ads on it in a day.
How many items would you see on a reader board?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. The one we have out here, unless you park your car and sit there for a half an hour, you don't read them. This would be, the picture here showing, Kamilakite Days, picture of Kamilakite Days. Cool. That attracts people. People are gonna like that. We could feature industries or businesses in town on the sign, but not messages continually, because people don't
Right.
read them anyway.
Right, I would agree.
I don't want a message board out of this. But I like the look of it. I like the size of it. And I like the idea of putting it up on, if it's possible, higher up on that elevation. I think you'd be able to see it from any place. And I think that's as Vinnie said to begin with, if it took us 2 or 3 budget years to get all 4 of these done, then it takes 3 or 4 budget years. I think it's well worth it. Do it right the first time, and so I like that. I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Rich?
I like the idea. I think it's a good idea. I like the size of it myself. I do agree with Bill. I think a little higher, make it more visible. But all in all, I like the idea.
Jim?
I've been a proponent for it from the very get-go, that we just have an informative sign out there. A couple of other questions, as Alderman Peachy has asked, what's the life of the display, things of that nature. Is it replaceable or upgradable? Even if we set other signs up with just the Jefferson, Wisconsin, can we add on to it later, have them add?
And that actually is an option. One of the things that I talked to him about is in the case that we did want to add on to it at a later point, that's certainly an option, and it's just an upcharge when it's done at a later point because of mobilization and those costs.
I think this, with the north side being that development up there, this is going to just draw the people that are coming in that direction, staying up there, and let them know what Jefferson's all about. So, great idea.
So while it may not be a unanimous opinion at this point, I'm hearing enough support that the council be agreeable to moving forward with getting a more firm bid and arranging a demonstration.
I'd like to see the demo and then get a bid that, dollars in their accounts or something here. So
Right.
I wouldn't say open-ended budget, let's just do it, but if the numbers come in, it's something all are comfortable paying for.
And visually see it, too,
Okay.
And subject to a suitable location.
I have
The most
enough
optimal.
direction to move on to the next step at least. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate your opinions. Resolution number 19 has been struck from the agenda. That'll come back at a future meeting at the request of the Streets Committee. So we'll move on to resolution number 120, a resolution authorizing project bidding of the 2019 North Parkway Street Extension. Alderman Miller, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, fellow council members, and citizens. City of Jefferson, resolution number 120. Whereas the City of Jefferson Common Council has included within the city's 2019 capital plan improvement to extend North Parkway for the expansion of the North Industrial Park. And whereas monies for this project have been allocated in the Capital Improvement Fund, Sanitary Storm Fund, and Storm Sewer Fund. Whereas improvements include extensions of the roadway infrastructure, including streets, curb and gutter, water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and electrical. whereas Town and Country Engineering have been retained to complete civil engineering design plan, and whereas the city engineer plans to bid this project between March and April of 2019, with a planned construction schedule for summer of 2019. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that it herein authorizes the city engineer to prepare the documents so that the city may obtain competitive bids to complete this project in 2019. I so move.
Been
Second.
moved and seconded by Mr. Brandel. Any discussion?
I can give a brief update on this
Please
as
do.
well. So again, this was a 2019 capital expense that was approved by the city council. This is also located in the newly created tax increment District 9. The location that we're talking here is north of Generac. This is the extension of the North Parkway. I just got some of the preliminary plans that are up at this point. We've shown drawings in the past of what this is for, and again, this is expansion of the North Industrial Park. This is not going to extend all the way to Dewey. It essentially will extend from the current portion of North Parkway far enough northeast to allow for expansion of the first few lots of the industrial park. At this point, Town and Country is approximately 90% done with this. We have had an initial round of reviews on that. We anticipate at this point that we are going to be bidding this out within the next couple weeks. And again, this is full construction. We've got a stormwater detention pond. We've got full street, curb and gutter, electric, storm, sanitary, and water. We've been working with all the departments on this one. So at this point, I just want to provide an update, let you know that we are going to be ready to bid more than likely before the next council meeting. So we're simply looking for authorization from the council to be able to get this out to bid as soon as it is available. Any questions?
Hearing none. We'll call the question. All in favor of resolution number 120, authorizing the project bidding of the 2019 North Parkway Street Extension, please signify by saying aye as Sarah calls your name. No if you're opposed.
Alderman Peachy.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Lars.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Kraus.
Aye.
Horn.
Aye.
Fire.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent C of the Wisconsin State Statutes to consider hiring a full-time police officer and the 2018 merit pay for non-represented employees.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Peachy,
Second.
second by Mr. Miller. All in favor signify by saying aye as Sarah calls your name.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Lars.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Kraus.
Aye.
Horn.
Aye.
Fire.
Aye.
Peachy.
Aye.
Thank you, and we will reconvene shortly.
Oh, Dale broke it.
We are reconvened. I'll introduce resolution number 121, a resolution authorizing a hire of a full-time police officer. Alderman Kraus, please.
Why, thank you. Honorable Mayor, fellow council members, and citizens of Jefferson. Resolution number 121. Whereas Police Chief Pileggi has taken steps to fill a vacant position based upon a recent resignation in the police department for a full-time patrol officer, and whereas interviews were conducted by the City of Jefferson Fire and Police Commission of part-time officers on 9/25/2018, and whereas Police Chief Pileggi is recommending that part-time officer Casey Kress be hired by the City of Jefferson to fill the vacant full-time officer position pursuant to the City of Jefferson Fire and Police Commission 9/25/18 interviews. And whereas the Personnel Committee, having reviewed the qualifications of part-time officer Casey Kress and the recommendation of Chief Pileggi, is also recommending the promotion of part-time officer Casey Kress from part-time officer status to full-time officer status to the Common Council. And whereas the Chief of Police has full-time funds allocated in his 2019 approved operating budget, and that his part-time patrol officer is to replace a current vacancy in the full-time patrol officer staff. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Jefferson, Wisconsin, that the Chief of Police is authorized to hire part-time officer Casey Kress effective Wednesday, March 6, 2019, as a full-time patrol officer for the City of Jefferson Police Department. The initial rate of pay shall be the entry-level step as outlined in the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Jefferson and the Jefferson Professional Police Officers Association. I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Tully. And discussion?
Unanimous at personnel.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of hiring Casey Kress as a full-time police officer, please signify by saying aye as Sarah calls your name.
Alderman Lars.
Aye.
Tully.
Aye.
Kraus.
Aye.
Horn.
Aye.
Fire.
Aye.
Peachy.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Brandon.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Peachy, second by Mr. Lars. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Good night.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes.